Welcome to the Resurrection Meditation channel, where the voices of past historical figures come to life. In this special episode, we will be exploring the life of V from V for Vendetta. Stay tuned till the end for a special message from V himself. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, and subscribe. V is the central figure of V for Vendetta, a masked vigilante who fights against the totalitarian government in a dystopian future England. Much about V's true identity remains shrouded in mystery. His face is never revealed, and his name V is more of a symbol than a true personal identifier. The character was created by Alan Moore and David Lloyd for the graphic novel V for Vendetta, which was later adapted into a popular film in 2005. V's origins are rooted in a dark chapter of government-sanctioned cruelty. He was once a nameless inmate at the infamous Larkhill resettlement camp, a facility where political dissidents, homosexuals, and other undesirables were detained and experimented upon by the Norsefire regime, a fascist government that seized power in England after a global war and a deadly plague. At Larkhill, V was subjected to horrific medical experiments that altered his physiology, granting him enhanced strength, reflexes, and a highly resilient constitution. His time at the camp also awakened within him a fierce intellect and a deep desire for vengeance against the regime that tortured him and destroyed countless others. In a catastrophic event that remains ambiguous, V escapes the camp, but not before blowing it up, killing many of his captors. It is from this point that V emerges as the iconic masked figure, an anonymous and unstoppable force of resistance. V's most recognizable feature is the Guy Fawkes mask he wears, a nod to the historical figure Guy Fawkes, who was involved in the Gunpowder Plot of 1605, an attempt to blow up the English Parliament. V adopts this mask as a symbol of rebellion against tyranny and oppression, aligning himself with Fawkes' spirit of defiance. The mask serves not only to conceal V's identity, but also to represent his belief that he is not a person, but an idea. To V, ideas are more enduring than individuals, and by hiding his face he becomes a symbol of the resistance, rather than a single man. The mask also has come to be associated with various modern protest movements, thanks in large part to its use in the V for Vendetta film. V is not merely driven by personal vengeance. His philosophy is deeply rooted in anarchism and the belief that individuals should be free from the control of oppressive governments. He despises the Norsefire regime not just for its personal crimes against him, but for its broader crimes against society: the suppression of freedom, the use of fear to control the populace, and the manipulation of truth for power. In his campaign against the government, V uses both violence and theatrical acts of rebellion, seeking to inspire the people to rise up and reclaim their autonomy. His tactics often involve acts of sabotage, bombings, and targeted assassinations of those complicit in the regime's atrocities, but he always frames these actions as a necessary part of tearing down an unjust system. One of his most dramatic acts is the destruction of the Old Bailey, the Central Criminal Court of London, which he blows up as a symbol of the broken justice system. V's worldview is that governments and institutions cannot be reformed from within. They must be dismantled entirely so that something new and freer can emerge. His goal is to awaken the people to their own power, to remind them that they do not have to live in fear and subjugation. In many ways, V is an agent of chaos, believing that from destruction comes the potential for a new and better order. V's most significant relationship in the story is with Evie Hammond, a young woman he rescues and eventually takes under his wing. Evie's own journey is central to the narrative, as she evolves from a frightened and oppressed citizen to someone who comes to understand and, to some extent, embrace V's philosophy. Their relationship is complex, as V acts both as a protector and a manipulator, pushing Evie to confront her fears and break free of the conditioning imposed by the authoritarian state. Though some interpretations suggest a romantic tension between them, the relationship is more ideological and symbolic. Evie represents the everyman, someone who must be awakened to the truth of their oppression, and V acts as the catalyst for that awakening. V's story is ultimately one of sacrifice. He knows that his crusade is unlikely to end in personal victory, but is willing to die for the cause of freedom. In both the graphic novel and the film, V's death serves as a final act of defiance against the regime and a rallying cry for the people to rise up and claim their own destiny. V's legacy lives on through Evie, who assumes his mantle in the film and releases his final message to the people, that they have the power to overthrow their oppressors. By remaining faceless, V transcends the individual and becomes a symbol of resistance against tyranny, a representation of the power of ideas over oppressive regimes. Since the release of V for Vendetta, the Guy Fawkes mask that V wears has become an emblem of resistance worldwide, adopted by protesters and activist groups such as Anonymous. V's message of rebellion against authoritarianism, his belief in the power of the individual, and his critique of corrupt systems of power have resonated deeply with audiences, making him one of the most iconic and enduring symbols of revolutionary thought in modern pop culture. This biography captures the essence of V as a character, a symbol of resistance, a philosophical anarchist, and a figure who embodies the power of ideas to spark change in a world corrupted by oppression. Now, here is a message from V, in his own voice.
Good evening. If you are hearing these words, then perhaps you too have felt it. The quiet, creeping shadow of complacency that has fallen over the world. You live in a time of unprecedented power, where the click of a button can ignite revolutions, where the words of the silenced can find voice in the darkness of the web. Yet with all your tools, all your freedoms, what do I see? I see a world that has forgotten the power of an idea. A world where oppression no longer wears the face of jackboots and armbands, but hides behind the velvet curtains of comfort, distraction, and endless consumption. You have been sold the illusion of freedom, and you have accepted it. Traded your liberties for the fleeting comfort of entertainment, and your principles for the numbness of convenience. You see the corruption of your leaders, their lies, their greed, and yet you do nothing. You watch complacent, convinced that someone else will light the fire of rebellion. You allow fear to rule you, fear of what it might cost to stand up, to speak out, to say no more. But what I ask is the price of your silence. Power, you see, is a fragile thing. It is built on the consent of the governed, on the acquiescence of the many. The rulers of today, like those of old, know this well. They give you just enough to keep you content, to keep you passive. But I say to you now, as I have said before, ideas are bulletproof, and the idea that the people should govern themselves, that they should be free from tyranny, is more powerful than any army, more enduring than any regime. You live in a society where the truth is twisted, manipulated, and fed to you in bite-sized pieces. And yet the truth has a way of revealing itself. It seeps through the cracks of the walls they build around you. It whispers in the quiet moments of doubt. And when you hear it, when you feel it, you must not ignore it. I do not ask you to take up arms. I ask you to take up your minds, your hearts, and your voices. Challenge what you see. Question those who claim to speak for you. Demand accountability, not just from your leaders, but from yourselves. For true change, lasting change, does not come from a single man or a single act of rebellion. It comes from the will of the people, united in their desire for something better. And what of the world you live in? It is a world of contradictions, so connected, yet so fragmented, so full of information, yet so devoid of wisdom. You must find your way through this maze of distractions, this cacophony of noise, to the heart of what matters. Your freedom. Not the freedom to consume, to be entertained, but the freedom to live without fear, the freedom to be who you are, to speak your mind, to stand up for what you believe in. Remember this: governments should fear their people, people should not fear their governments. And when that balance shifts, as it so often does, it is up to you, the people, to remind them. You are not powerless. You have the power of ideas, of unity, of resistance. And that, my friends, is something no government can ever truly control. So rise, be more than what they want you to be. Be the change you seek. Be the revolution. The building is already aflame. All it needs now is a match.
This has been the Resurrection Meditation channel, where the voices of past historical figures come to life. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment to let us know who you would like to see next. Click on the thumbnails to see a guided meditation from V or to learn about the next resurrectee. Hope you enjoy.